The 7th of October deception. How Israel fooled the world. For a nation with some of the most advanced intelligence and surveillance capabilities on earth, the official Israeli narrative surrounding the 7th of October 2023 Hamas attack simply doesn't add up. We're expected to believe that a state equipped with facial recognition at every checkpoint, 24/7 drone surveillance, cell tower monitoring, AI-driven border security, and round-the-clock. Shin Bet and Mossad intelligence was somehow caught by surprise? It's not just unlikely. It's insulting to our intelligence. A 2-hour blind spot in the world's most watched border. The Gaza-Israel border is one of the most tightly controlled and monitored strips of land in the world. A digital fortress. Yet on the 7th of October, Hamas militants reportedly broke through border fences, paraglided into Israeli territory, and launched a coordinated attack, all without triggering any serious resistance for more than 2 hours. 2 hours. That's not an oversight, that's complicity, or at the very least, a deliberate pause in response. While Israeli civilians were being slaughtered, where were the drones? The surveillance balloons? The IDF patrols? The cyber units monitoring every digital communication out of Gaza? Are we to believe this entire apparatus failed simultaneously without sabotage? Let's be clear. This is the same Israeli military that can pinpoint and assassinate a target in a moving car with a drone strike. The same intelligence services that have infiltrated the deepest layers of Hezbollah and Iran. The same Shin Bet that claims to track every SIM card that enters or leaves Gaza. And yet we're supposed to believe Hamas operatives coordinated, armed, and launched a massive incursion without being detected? The IDF has ironclad protocols that typically scramble units within minutes of breach detection. And yet, on that day, the day they claim to have been caught off guard, Israel's vaunted military machine stood down for over 2 hours? No, this wasn't failure. This was a choice. The intelligence failure that wasn't. In the days after the attack, Israeli officials rushed to call it an intelligence failure. But multiple sources, including reports from Haaretz and international intelligence insiders, indicated there were clear signs in the days and even weeks prior that Hamas was preparing for something big. Egypt reportedly warned Israel of something unusual 72 hours before the attack. Why wasn't that acted upon? Worse still, leaked testimonies from Israeli border communities and IDF reservists suggest that calls for reinforcements were ignored or delayed. Some soldiers said they were told to stand down, even as gunfire rang out. Was this really incompetence? Or was it allowed to happen? And let's not forget, Israel has a long history of using security threats as a political weapon, whether to rally public support, silence dissent, or justify massive offensives. Operation Cast Lead, Operation Protective Edge, and countless others have followed eerily similar patterns. Provocation, followed by an explosion of force, always framed as a reaction. A convenient catalyst. The 7th of October attack gave Israel something it hadn't had in years: global sympathy. Overnight, headlines shifted. Social media was flooded with pro-Israel narratives. Western governments lined up to offer full-throated support. Billions in military aid were unlocked, and war was declared on Gaza with no serious opposition from the so-called international community. In one devastating morning, Israel regained the victim status it had lost. And then it used that position to unleash unprecedented brutality on the people of Gaza, bombing hospitals, flattening entire neighborhoods, and displacing over 1.5 million civilians, all under the banner of self-defense. If Israel truly wanted to get the hostages back, they would have gotten them a long time ago. With all the intelligence, satellite, facial recognition, surveillance drones, and cyber infiltration tools at their disposal, there is no way a group operating from underground tunnels could outmaneuver or mislead them for this long. Let's not pretend this was about rescuing hostages, because if it were, they would have been saved already. This was never about the hostages. This is the same country that has hunted down and abducted individuals across Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. The Mossad has famously tracked Nazi war criminals to South America, assassinated alleged enemies abroad with surgical precision, and infiltrated nuclear programs of enemy states. You're telling us they can't locate hostages 2 kilometers from their own border? There are even reports that Israel had precise drone footage of some hostages' locations during the earliest days of the war, yet chose to continue airstrikes regardless. In other words, it wasn't a rescue mission. It was collective punishment disguised as vengeance. A manufactured green light, whether it was an intentional false flag, a cold calculation, or a gamble gone wrong, one thing is clear. Israel exploited the 7th of October to justify a genocidal campaign. Every child buried under the rubble in Gaza since that day is part of the cost of this orchestrated inaction. If Israel didn't plan the attack, they certainly used it masterfully. And the world, blinded by its guilt, folded without asking the most basic questions. Questions like, why did it take so long to respond? How did Hamas get past all surveillance and defense systems? Who benefits from this narrative? And why are civilians always the ones paying the price? Enough of the lies. This isn't about defending Hamas, it's about exposing how convenient this tragedy became for a government that has long thrived on fear, war, and manipulation. Israel cannot keep hiding behind terror while it commits state terror of its own. We must question the convenient silence of technology. We must challenge the myth of surprise. And we must stop letting orchestrated tragedy become a blank check for war crimes.